some discussion about where is Kim Purusha Varsha. You ever heard of Kim Purusha Varsha? Kim Purusha Varsha is where currently Hanuman is. After Ram's pastimes were completed, Ram went back to the spiritual world, Ayodhya, in the Vaikuntha realm, and Hanuman was left behind to sing the glories and spread the glories of Ram for the rest of this cosmic creation. And then he would return to Ayodhya at the time of cosmic annihilation. So, where is Kim Purusha Varsha? Well, the answer, where it is why we're showing this video. You'll hear as the video progresses the description of Bhu Mandala. Bhu refers to the earth. And mandala, you know what a mandala is? Mandala is a two-dimensional geometric pattern that is balanced. There's something over here, the same something over here, and something over here, and something there. It's like a geometric pattern, very complicated geometric pattern, that it reflects one side, reflects the other side, and so forth. Mandala. Bhu Mandala is a term used in the Bhagavatam to indicate this planetary region where the earth is. There's upper, there's lower, and there's middle. And Bhu Mandala, or the earth and its planetary region, is in the middle of the universe. So Bhu Mandala is the region where the earth is within the universe, universal structure. Bhu Mandala. And according to the Bhagavatam, Bhu Mandala is made up of a series of 7 islands surrounded by rings of oceans, and then another ring of island, and then another ring of ocean, another ring of island. The oceans aren't all salt water. They're of different makeups. There's different things that make up those oceans. So at the center island is called Jambu Dvipa. Dvipa means island. Dvipa means island. Like Nava Dvipa, the place where Lord Chaitanya lived, is Nava Dvipa. It was 9 islands. Dvipa means island. Jambu Dvipa is an island that has in its center a inverted mountain, golden mountain. Like in a lotus flower, there's lotus petals, and then there's the corolla at the center of the lotus petals, and then there's this thing that protrudes up called the pericarp. That's the Western version of what's in the middle. It's this protruding thing that sticks up in the air right in the middle of a lotus flower. So the pericarp, so to speak, of Bhu Mandala is Mount Sumeru. You've heard of Sumeru before. Sumeru, or sometimes it's just Mount Meru, but Sumeru. And it's a golden island, you'll see in this video. It's a golden island that's very tall. And it's a very interesting island, besides how tall it is. It's wider at the top and narrow at the bottom like a cone. And it sticks down through the surface of Bhu Mandala some distance. That's middle of Jambudweep is Sumeru. You'll see the image. I'm explaining it now just verbally, then you'll see the visual. And then surrounding Mount Sumeru, there's 9 tracts of land. And those 9 tracts of land, the tract of land is called Varsha. One of those 9 is Bharata Varsha. Bharata Varsha refers to this earthly region, or Varsha. Then there's a big mountain range that separates it from the next Varsha, and that Kimpurusha Varsha is that next Varsha. And then there's a big, and that's where Hanuman is, worshipping Ram. Then there's another big mountain range on the other side of that is Hari Varsha, where Prahlad Maharaj resides, worshipping Lord Nrsimhadev. And then there in the center is Sumeru, and then there's 3 Varshas on the other side. 3 plus 3 makes 6. And then there's 1 and 1 on either side, that makes 8. And then there's the middle one, Elavrita Varsha, makes 9. So that's the central island called Jambudweep. Dweep means island. And it's a central island among 7 islands that make up Bhu Mandala. And Bhu Mandala is in the middle of the universe. And then there's there's 7 upper planetary systems. Bhu Mandala is the lower of that, so 6 more up. And there's 7 down. 7 plus 7 equals, usually it equals 14. So there's 14 planets that make up the planetary system of the cosmos. So the person that's going to be narrating is the one who is in charge of the Vedic planetarium. This is the TOVP. You've heard of that. TOVP is Temple of Vedic Planetarium. It's a animated video depiction of what's going to be inside the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. So it's the structure of the universe. So at the bottom is Garbhodak Ocean. Garbhodak Ocean has Anantashesh. Resting on the body of Anantashesh is Lord Vishnu, and the hoods of Anantashesh are holding up this structure upstairs. So that's what we're going to see. And the narrator is Antardweep, that's his name. I think he's from Australia. He sounds like an Australia accent. So we're going to see, it's really short, but it's a video of the structure of the universe, and the whole purpose of this is, where is Kimpurusha Varsha? Where does Hanuman reside? Okay, here we go.
So at the bottom of the planetary display, we have Shesha holding up the earth. This is Shesh, the empowered incarnation. There we have Ananta speaking Bhagavatam to the 4 Kumaras, and above, the 7 subterranean planets. Here we can see Jambudweep, the central island of Bhumandala, and Bharatvarsha is situated on the southern side of that. 8 other Varshas, with Elavrita Varsha in the center. Various supporting mountains with large trees upon them, described in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the very center of Elavrita Varsha is Mount Meru, Golden Mountain. Atop Mount Meru are the cities of important demigods, Lord Rama in the center, 8 Dikpalas in the cardinal directions and sub-directions. Moving out, we can see the broader Bhumandala, 7 concentric islands and oceans surrounding them. The 7th of these islands is Pushkar. On that island is Manasotra mountain, and on the mountain there's various cities of demigods such as Indra. Out further is Lokaloka mountain. These large elephants stand atop Lokaloka mountain to balance Bhumandala. Outside of Lokaloka mountain is Aloka Varsha, which is dark. The rays of the sun and the other luminaries extend up to Lokaloka mountain. On Manasotra mountain here on Pushkara Dweep, the sun travels above this mountain at the southernmost point of its annual orbit. Above Bhumandala is Bhuvarloka, which is the residence of the Charanas, Siddhas, Yakshas, Gandharvas. And above there is Swargaloka, beginning from the sun and extending up to the pole star Dhruvaloka. This is the moving part of the planetary display. Here we can see the sun and the moon moving in their chariots. The chariots are being drawn by horses moving in the anti-clockwise direction, but they're traveling with the wheel of time moving in the clockwise direction faster, so it looks as if they're moving backwards. Above them, the zodiac of stars, more planets, and another realm of stars. So here we can see everything moving with the Kala Chakra, circumambulating the axis that connects Mount Meru with Dhruvaloka. Above these planets, we come to the planet of the seven sages, the Saptarshi. You can see them here, they're commonly known as the Big Dipper, and then Dhruvaloka, the pole star. On the ocean of milk situated there, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the Paramatma within everyone's heart, he resides on Anantashesh.
Dhruvaloka.
Moving up beyond there, we have Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. In this video, we haven't included many of the details for there, but on Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, we have residences of the Lord, such as Lord Varaha, Lord Vamana, and so on. Here's Brahmaloka, and on Brahmaloka, we also have a form of the Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu as the Sahasrashesha Purush. Beyond there is the seven coverings of the universe, earth, water, fire, etc. And outside of the universes is the abode of Lord Shiva, Shiva Loka. There he resides eternally. Beyond Shiva Loka, we come to Mahavishnu, Khara Vishnu, with innumerable universes that are emanating from the pores of his transcendental body. Here you can see him being served by Rama Devi. Then we come to the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the Lord's transcendental body. Penetrating through the Brahmajyoti, we come to the Vaikuntha planets. We're showing 24 planets of the Vaikuntha realm in this model. The Lord, with 4 arms, is holding the conch, disc, club, and lotus, and the various combinations of those 4 make 24. Then we come to Goloka Vrindavan. Here we can see Radha Madhava, but we'll also be showing the other primary rasas. Krishna with the cowherd boys, Krishna being served, Krishna with Mother Yashoda. So this is an overview of the planetary display to be shown in the main dome of the temple.
You want to see it again? It's cool, huh? What he doesn't show at the very beginning is the Garbhodak ocean. But it's just, it's an ocean, so it fills half the universe. And then where it begins is Anantashesh resting on the Garbhodak ocean with his so many hoods holding up, he says, the earth, but holding up the whole of the universe on his hoods, the planets on his hoods. And then Ananta, because Shesha is often called Anantashesha, and then it shows Ananta speaking the Bhagavatam to the 4 Kumaras. So if you've ever wondered how the Kumara Sampradaya began, this is how it began. Lord Ananta speaking the Vedas to the 4 Kumaras. And then what it doesn't show is the hellish planets are below the 7 planetary systems. They're kind of squished together. So it's a little thin layer, but there's a lot of hellish planets. And then above that is the lower planetary systems. And then the Bhumandala picture. And he quickly goes into the middle island, Jambudweep. Let's do it again tomorrow morning. You can watch. We won't do it again tonight because of time. It's already 7:30. So the theme of this week, leading up to Lord Ramachandra's appearance on Thursday, this is Monday evening, starting on Saturday evening, we began the theme of discussing Lord Ram encounters and helps to remove obstacles on the path of bhakti. Very similar to the description of Krishna appearing in Braja, encountering various demons, and by encountering the demons and dismissing the demons, Krishna is helping the conditioned souls like us, less than perfect souls, to have Braja Prem obstacles removed by Krishna's killing of the demons. So in a very similar way, the commentators on Ramayana have indicated that Ram does something quite similar. We discussed Viradha and how Viradha represents hypocrisy, and Ram's killing of Viradha indicates, it's not like a symbolic story of, it indicates Ram helping those who are on the path of devotion to him, trying to surrender to him, becoming free from hypocrisy. And then this evening, we'll be discussing Khara, Dushan, and Trishiras. Just a little background first on Khara, Dushan, and Trishiras were representing their soldiers, their powerful warrior, Rakshasa warriors, in charge of an extension of Ravana's kingdom. Ravana's kingdom's headquarters were in Lanka. And Ravana wanted to protect his kingdom by having some outlying area that commonly would have to be traversed in order to get to his kingdom. So he stationed Khara, Dushan, and Trishiras along with 14,000 Rakshasa soldiers and persons expert in black arts and mystical powers and so forth, to stop anybody that might want to get to Lanka by having to pass through their 14,000 army with powerful generals and so forth. And the area they occupied was called Janastan. Janastan is an area within the Dandak forest. It's a subpart of a bigger region, Dandak forest. A little background of how Dandak forest became known as the Dandak forest, and then how Janastan became Janastan. So it's like history within history within history. From Bhagavad Gita, we know that the current cycle of the 4 yugas that we're in now has 14 manus. Each day of Brahma has 14 manus, and we're in manu number 7. And his manu number 7 is Vaivasvata Manu. So Krishna says in chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita that he taught this knowledge, Bhagavad Gita knowledge, to the sun god, whose name is Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to his son, Manu. And his son's name, Manu, was Vaivasvata Manu. And Manu taught the lessons of Bhagavad Gita to his son, named Ikshvaku. So Ikshvaku was the son of Manu. Manu he established a kingdom in Ayodhya, and he gave rule of Ayodhya to his son Ikshvaku. And part of the duty, the explanation of the duties of ruling, was giving protection. Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. So vinashaya chaduskritam, the persons that deviate from principles of good conduct or dharma, they need to be held in check, because otherwise they will disturb the dharmic people. It's part of the duty of a king. So Manu was instructing the duties of a king to his son Ikshvaku, and the portion that he was explaining, a king has to give protection to innocent people, and persons that are violators of dharma, there has to be appropriate control. And the control instrument is a rod, or danda, the rod of chastisement it's called. So he was explaining, you use it properly, don't use it improperly, but when it's needed, then it's part of the duty of the king, and it protects the innocent, and it keeps proper order within the kingdom. So use it properly. Don't use it, because you're powerful, don't just go around whacking people. Use it only according to the codes of dharma, but use it as required. So Ikshvaku accepted rule of Ayodhya and the kingdom that was given to him by his father. And in the course of time, Ikshvaku, through assistance of qualified sages and purohits, those that know the procedure for proper sacrifices, he had 100 sons. And the youngest of those sons, he saw after some time that he was a little deranged and a little disrespectful towards his elder brothers. So he gave him the name Danda, knowing that at some point in time he would have to discipline him. Danda was given a kingdom that stretched, according to the Ramayana, it stretched all the way, these are western and towards eastern mountain ranges, between the Vindhya hills and the Shaivala mountains. Now, I tried to do some research to find out where those are, and it's not so clear. But those are eastern-western boundaries. It goes all the way up to up to the region near where Ayodhya is. So below Ayodhya, or Lucknow, down in a southerly direction. So, but it was a forested region, wild forested region, wasn't like a coveted area, but that was Danda's kingdom. So, Danda established a purohit. You know the meaning of purohit? Purohit? You two boys? Heard the term before? A purohit is a certain type of Brahmin that knows how to perform rituals. A ritual Brahmin is called the purohit. So he's a very important person for a king, because a king has to do sacrifices in order to create good circumstances within the kingdom and so forth. So he accepted Ushanas as his purohit, and together they began ruling. And he established, in course of time, a capital city called Manta, and he was gifted in many ways. The capital city was very Wonderful. And it was on mountain sides, but he built different residences, and he built up his kingdom very opulently, and he ruled for a long period of time. This is during Treta Yuga, so people lived for a longer duration than we do. So for 10,000 years, he had ruled. Oh, it was Satya Yuga. Towards the end of Satya Yuga. Yeah. So some misfortune came, sure enough. He was in a forested region, and he saw a lovely young woman. And he became attracted to this lovely young woman and started speaking in a way that was inappropriate. And she was the daughter of a Brahmana in the line of Bhrigu Muni. And so those who are in the line of Bhrigu Muni are called Bhargavas, just like Parshuram, one of his names is Bhargava. But that just indicates he's in the line of Bhrigu. So there was a very powerful, very learned, very wise, very capable, very austere Brahmana known conventionally as Bhargava during the time of Ikshvaku's son's reign. And her name, the daughter's name, was Araja. And he spoke inappropriately to Araja, and she spoke back appropriately. And he wanted to know who she was and so forth. She said, I'm the daughter of Bhargava, a great, powerful Brahmana, Rishi. And if you have any interest in me, you don't speak to me, you speak to my father. That's what's proper. So you just go speak to him, please. And he didn't stop. He grabbed her and molested her, and then went back to his capital kingdom. Now, at that time, the girl's father was in the forest gathering articles for sacrifice, and when he came back, he saw his daughter, and she looked terrible, and he asked her what happened, and she said, what happened? And Bhargava became enraged and said, that man, Danda, will be killed, and his whole capital city, Madhumanta, will be completely covered by dust. In fact, this entire forest will be invisible because of a massive dust storm. And even this hermitage where we reside, he informed all of the sages who were residing in his ashram, you have 1 week to depart and make your residence elsewhere outside of this whole forested region, because it's all just going to be covered by dust. And he told his daughter, there's a particular lake that won't be affected. You go there, do your austerities and meditation there, and you and whatever wildlife is there will remain safe. And he got up and he left also. So sure enough, in 7 days, huge dust storm, everything in all directions was destroyed. So this kingdom of Danda then became known as Dandakaranya. Aranya means forest. Dandakaranya, forest. Dandakaranya. So it became wild, and after the dust storm settled, and it grew up natural like a jungle. And the place where the hermitage was, Bhargava's hermitage was, after some many, many years, became Janastan. So that's where Ravana's soldiers made their residence, sanctified previously by the presence of Bhargava and all the rishis associated with him, and that's where they made their headquarters, Janastan. So when Ram leaves Chitrakoot and enters into the Dandak forest, he doesn't directly go to Janastan, he's in some other parts of the Dandak forest. And by the time he reaches Panchavati, he's in not far from the Janastan area, or where the 14,000 soldiers are. So tomorrow we're going to hear about Shuparnaka. You know who is Shuparnaka, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it was a toss-up whether to speak about Shuparnaka tonight and then about the battle. That's the chronology. But she also appears and does some things after the battle. So we'll just speak of these three: Khara, Dushan, and Trishira. So Khara and Dushan, they're brothers of Ravana, and Trishira is just another one of the superlative persons. By family lineage, they're connected. Khara and Dushan. And they're extremely powerful Rakshasas heading the rest of the 14,000. They have their generals and so forth. So the purpose, one of the purposes of Ram's taking birth on earth was the appeal by Lord Brahma and the demigods to Lord Vishnu to dismiss Ravana and the demoniac rulers that were tormenting and terrorizing the universe. And so he has to do that. And so to do that, he made a little arrangement. After giving his association to so many sages in the Dandak forest, 12 and a half with Lakshman and Sita. So shortly after meeting Agastya, and Agastya recommending that they stay at Panchavati for the balance of their time in the forest, and the hermitage, the residence being built by Lakshmana at Panchavati, there's an arrangement, there's a nice term in Sanskrit, Satya Sankalpa. We know what Sankalpa is from our japa retreats. Sankalpa? Sankalpa means what your intention is. When you go to a japa retreat, there's often a Sankalpa ceremony where you're asked to write down what's your purpose in coming here, what would you like to achieve? That's what Sankalpa means. It's a term that's used in Vedic sacrifices. You state to the priest, what's your Sankalpa? I'd like to do well in my exams. Or I'd like my business to be successful. Or I'd like my daughter to have a very nice husband. Or I want something. I want good health. I want wealth. I want something. That's the Sankalpa. So Satya Sankalpa means it's a power of the Bhagavan where he just desires something and it happens. He doesn't have to lift a finger. He just desires that something happens. His supreme will, Satya Sankalpa. So by the power of Ram's Satya Sankalpa, Suparnaka did what she did. By the Satya Sankalpa of Ram, Mantra and Kaikeyi did what they did. Kind of like a game-changing event. When we'll hear more tomorrow about Suparnaka, but she acted in such a way that she got a problem. And because she was going to devour Sita in the course of having her little problem, she had to be checked. And Lakshman took care of that. He cut off her nose and her ears, and she started bleeding like anything. And she went back to the camp, or the capital of Janistan, and started wailing because Suparnaka, she's a sister of Ravan, as Khara is a brother of Ravan. And so she's wailing, and we'll hear all about that tomorrow, to inspire Khara, Dushan, and Trishiras to go kill Ram, take revenge. And specifically, she said she wants to drink his blood, and her blood, Sita. So, she's not a nice lady. But she got Khara and Dushan all fired up. So they took their entire 14,000 army against 2 men. Looks like, the odds are in their favor. And they're really powerful warriors. I mean, think about what does 14,000 look like all at once. And they had weapons. They knew mantras. They were chanting mantras. They were in this, really eager to fight spirit, never leave the battlefield spirit, give up their life for the cause of their great general and hero, Khara. So screeching and screaming and lots of noise and lots of dust raised by their movements going to the place Suparnaka led them to, so they would find very quickly the enemy, Ram and Lakshman. And hearing this tumultuous sound and understanding what was happening, Ram told Lakshman, take Sita, she should not be in harm's way, take her to a cave, stand at the head of the cave and protect her. And that left Ram standing alone on the place of battle against 14,000 Rakshasas. And Rakshasas, they're just like warriors. They're powerful. They have mystic powers. They can do all kinds of things, all kinds of weapons. And they came charging when Suparnaka indicated where they were situated. They came charging with rage. Khara led the charge, and he, with his 14,000, he alone sent 1,000 arrows all at once, headed towards Ram, who was standing alone on the battlefield. And Ram took his bow, didn't have like machine gun, he had a bow. And he had, by mystic power, he could fire thousands of arrows at once from that bow. And then again, and then again, and then again. Doesn't give a description of the technology, but he had that potency to fire so many arrows simultaneously. And waves of soldiers were hit by those arrows. Not only the soldiers, but their all kinds of details. Their chariot flags, their horses, their charioteers, and were all cut down by Ram's arrows. It's described that Ram, standing alone before they came, was showing the anger of Lord Shiva at the time of devastation. Now, he's the source of everything, including Lord Shiva. And he entered into a certain Shiva Bhav. And there's demigods watching from the sky. One version of Ramayana says, Skanda Purana, describing the battle scene, says the Siddhas and the Charanas and the demigods watching from their vimanas up in the sky, they could see Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva's weapons simultaneously all being manifested by Ram. So it's not like an ordinary combat. This is the personality of Godhead in the mood of the destruction of the universe, exhibiting power. So thousands of Rakshasa soldiers and their chariots, etc., were killed, and hundreds and thousands of their bows, flagpoles, shields, armor, arms, and hands, decorated with gold ornaments in their thighs, resembling the trunks of elephants, were all pierced by arrows. And many soldiers lay on the ground, dead. So many of the soldiers ran in retreat to Khara. And Khara, so like his role is to keep them going. So he consoled them. And then he personally grabbed his bow, and Dushan requested, let me get him. So Dushan rushed towards Ram, and then again it describes Ram again exhibited even this heightened stage of destructive mood, anger, combat, fierce. And so Dushan, by the way, the meaning of his name, blasphemy. He rushed towards Ram with all of his armies, and in response, in 10 directions simultaneously. Now that meant that 10 includes down. But in any case, Ram fired so many arrows, the sky was like night, although it was day. So many arrows. And many of Dushan's soldiers were killed. 5,000 out of 14,000 were killed in one move of arrows from Ram's bow. And then Dushan and others fired so many arrows and spears and swords and stones and this and that at Ram. And some of them pierced his body. And he became even more angry. The description in Valmiki Ramayana was he closed his eyes like a bull and summoned his full ire for the destruction of all the Rakshasas. And then he fired so many arrows, he severed the head of Dushan's charioteer. There's a certain arrow that was crescent-shaped, and the charioteer lost his head. He shot Dushan with 3 arrows that pierced his chest. He didn't die from that. Dushan then picked up a humongous iron-plated club that had gold bands on it and so many decorations and, bells and whistles, and went charging at Ram with fury. And then Ram, with his bow, using 2 arrows, he cut off his 2 arms. So the club fell to the ground, and so did his arms. Now here's commentary. Dushan is one of the meanings, or he represents blasphemy, but one of the meanings is one who contaminates. Dushan. Or a person with bad qualities. And, persons with bad qualities often speak badly about others, so that's the blasphemy part. And the dismembering by cutting off his arms before killing him is an indication of how we should deal with our bad qualities, because that's the topic that I was asked to speak about. Supposing you have a bad quality, maybe you don't, but supposing you had one, then it may get aggravated sometimes. A bad quality may just be kind of hanging around, but then the bad quality may start to come out. And when that bad quality starts to come out, what do? So the indication is you cut off its arms. The way that it may grab a hold of you and take a hold of you, don't let it do its thing. So after Dushan's arms were cut and his chest was pierced with 3 arrows, he died on the battlefield. Seeing this, Dushan had 3 primary generals under his care, and they came charging with axes and spears and tridents, charging at Ram. And then one by one, Ram severed the head of one. He struck another one down, and the third he filled his big eyes with arrows. And then all the remaining 5,000 soldiers were finished in due order. So there's a big chunk of the 14,000 down and gone. Next, Khara sent 12 of his most powerful generals with their armies, and Ram in turn killed all of the 12 generals and their army. The entire remainder of the Rakshasa army was destroyed swiftly, which left just 2, Khara and Trishira. And Khara was enraged. He didn't get the message, hey, this isn't an ordinary person. He didn't get that message. He I'm going to kill him. So Trishira stepped in front and said, let me do the honors. I'd like to give me the word and I'll kill him. So just at this section of the Janastan battle, there's a prayer, like a little message given by one of the commentators named Govindaraj, and the essence of his little prayer to Lord Ram, right in this chapter of Ramayana, goes like this. Let me take shelter of Lord Sri Ram, who beheaded the 3 heads of Trishira, which represent Adhyadvika, Adidaivika, and Adibhautika kleshas, the 3 miseries of material existence, Trishiras. One gets ahankara, false ego, because of ajnana or ignorance. Ravana represents an Ahankara-filled heart. Ravana's army outpost in Janastan was led by 3 army chiefs, Khara, Dushara, and Trishira. They led 14,000 Rakshasas and stayed in Dandakaranya. Among them, Dushara represents one who blasphemes. Blasphemy spoils the mind and intelligence. Dushara is the first to be killed. Now there's other commentators that say something close but a little different, and we'll share that in just a little bit. Next, the difficulties caused by false ego, adhyatmika, adhibhautika, and adhidaivika difficulties, have to be eradicated. These are called tapa traya. Those of you that know Srimad Bhagavatam, the introductory verse, tapatrayon mulanam, that hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam does that. In this case, it's Ram killing Trishira, same effect. The embodiment of these 3 tapas is Trishira. The Supreme Lord is the only shelter and capable person to remove these 3, or tapatraya. Ram kills Trishira. Finally, false ego, represented by Khara himself, has to be killed. Now, Khara, in addition to indicating false ego, literally, Khara means ass. There's some ass-like people, and they're pretty stubborn. Donkeys are known to be stubborn and not very intelligent, but false ego has a nature of never learning from dictates of higher intelligence. False ego gives the highest resistance on the path back to Godhead, and likewise, Khara gives the highest resistance to Ram amongst the 3 demons. So when Khara starts rushing, Trishira steps in front and let me do the honors. Either I shall be his death in combat, or he will be mine. Restrain your enthusiasm for battle just for a while and watch me. Either you will return to Janastan delighting in the death of Ram, or you will be entering into combat with Ram after my death. So Khara yielded, although he was pretty fired up, wanting to rush into battle. And then the battle begins between Trishira and Ram. First thing that Trishira did in the combat was he fired 3 arrows that hit Ram in the forehead. Now Ram wasn't feeling pain, but he was angry. Oh, this Rakshasa who is courageous in warfare has such strength, and he has shot me in the forehead with arrows that felt like flowers. Now you shall accept the arrows flying from the string of my bow. And Ram then shot 14 arrows that hit Trishira's chest. 4 more arrows he shot Khara's 4 horses. With 8 arrows he shot down the driver seated in the chariot. With 1 arrow he cut off the chariot's flag. And Trishira jumped down from his chariot, started running towards Krishna. Ram used 3 more arrows and severed all 3 of Trishira's head, and he was finished. body fell dead, joining his already 3 severed heads on the ground. But Khara didn't get the message. So here's there's a lot of material here, and I think I'll just go through it slowly. There's commentary that then, at this point, so now Dushan and Trishira are dead. So then the commentators are going over the subject matter again, this destroying of obstacles within us on the path of achieving shelter of Ram, or shelter of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So here's some additional commentary. The battle between Ram and Khara takes longer than with the others because Khara's very stubborn. False ego doesn't go so quickly. Dushan represents Mahamoha. We heard blasphemy, but here Mahamoha, huge bewilderment, of which blasphemy is a primary manifestation. The threefold miseries, Trishiras, that we have very clear. And Khara represents Darpa, or false ego. Although bewilderment in the threefold miseries can be controlled, false ego doesn't die easily. Seeing that seeing that his near and dear ones, that bewilderment and threefold miseries, are dead, false ego may become a little fearful. However, a stubborn personality like Khara doesn't see what's so obvious. So now the battle is beginning between the two, Khara and Ram. The sky becomes completely covered with arrows, so much so its space shrinks. It's so much filled with arrows. The sun did not shine because it was covered with a network of arrows created by these two warriors. Khara fired an arrow that broke Ram's bow in half, right near where he held it with his hand. The angry Khara took 7 more arrows and fired them at Ram's vital organs. Then he hit Ram with 1,000 arrows, and Khara thought, that's it, I won. Ram's armor, which was resplendent like the sun, fell to the ground. When all of Ram's limbs were hit by arrows, Ram was infuriated and shone on the battleground like a smokeless flame, lifting that huge bow of Vishnu given to him by the great sage Agastya. Remember that? Well, there was the bow of Shiva, which he broke in the court of King Janak. Then later he received the bow of Vishnu, that's a long story, from Agastya. It's a long story. So now he has the bow of Vishnu. He's Vishnu with the bow of Vishnu. And Ram shot down the flag of Khara. Here's the history. Vishnu had given his bow to Richika Muni, who in turn gave it to Jamadagni, who gave it to Lord Parashuram. Ram received the bow from Lord Parshuram after his marriage. Then Ram handed the bow over to Varuna. Varuna gave it to Indra. Indra gave it to Agastya. Agastya gave it back to Ram. Again, Khara shot arrows at the vital parts of Ram's body. He knew the science of where it's vital, and he knew how to hit. And when Ram was struck by the many arrows shot from Khara's bow and his body was drenched with blood, he became irate. So now Ram is going to speak. You have perpetrated a horrible act, despised by all people, one who oppresses other living beings, who is heartless, who commits sinful deeds, cannot endure even if he is the ruler of the three worlds, one who does not wake up, even though committing sins out of lust and greed, but is delighted by doing so, will see his own end. What result will you get by killing the ascetics who practice righteousness while dwelling in the Dandakaranya forest? Even on achieving a position as ruler, one who is cruel, who commits sinful deeds, and who is despised by the people, cannot last very long, like a tree with rotten roots. I have been sent by King Dasarath to take the lives of those who commit terrible sins and who wish to harm people. Now, my arrows that are decorated in gold will be released on you like snakes rebounding from a snake pit, and they will tear you asunder, and ripping you, they will bounce back into my quivers. He had the power to fire arrows and do their thing and then come back to his quiver. So he's about to kill Khara, and then comes this discussion. Where does he go after that? Killed by Ram. What was his destination? And there's three different explanations. In the Skanda Purana, it says those who were killed by Ram attained Sayuja Mukti. And elsewhere it says those munis who were killed by you will attain Swargaloka. You will also attain Swargaloka because of being killed by me. This is Ram speaking to the demons, that the sages that you killed will attain Swarga. Because I'm killing you, you'll also attain Swarga. And Valmiki, in his Ramayana, says, let those great sages who were previously killed by you see you from their celestial vehicles being killed by my arrows descending to hell. So take your choice. So Ram said all these chivalrous words. Khara is going to reply with chivalrous words. O son of King Dasarath, having killed ordinary Rakshasas on the field of battle, why do you praise yourself when you do not deserve praise? This is Ahankara speaking. The best of men who are valorous and strong do not say anything about themselves out of self-pride. Only the vulgar, who have not mastered themselves and are a disgrace to the warrior caste, uselessly brag as you do, O Ram. What warrior would extol his own praise on the battlefield with death close at hand, when there was no reason to do so. By praising yourself, you have completely revealed your baselessness, as a blazing fire reveals the falsity of fool's gold. Do you not see me standing here, holding a club, immobile like a mountain, replete with minerals, and supporting the earth? Like death holding a noose, I, with my club in hand, am capable of taking your life in combat, and even that of all the three worlds. Although I could say more about you, I shall not, for the sun is about to set, which would disrupt the fight. 14,000 Rakshasas have been killed by you. By killing you, I shall wipe away the tears from the relatives' eyes. Speaking thus and being extremely angry, Khara threw at Ram his club, which was encircled with gold bands. The mighty burning club, blazing like a thunderbolt, as it was released from the hand of Khara, reduced to ashes the trees and shrubs as it approached Lord Ram. With his arrows, Ram shattered into pieces that flaming club in midair. Shattered by Ram's arrows, the club fell to the ground like a snake knocked down by the power of potions and spells. Valmiki writes, after smashing Khara's club with his arrows, Ram, who is fond of righteousness, smiled and spoke the following words. Is this the extent of your strength? Although devoid of strength in comparison to me, you brag pointlessly. Your vain bragging defeated your club's purpose, which is now shattered by my arrows and fallen to the ground. Even the declaration proclaimed by you that you would wipe away the tears from the eyes of the relatives of the fallen Rakshasas is proven false. I shall take away the life of you, a low, wretched, and cheating Rakshasa, as Garuda snatched away the nectar of immortality from the gods. The earth will drink your blood, mixed with foam and bubbles, after I cut your throat and pierce your body with my arrows. Chivalrous talk. With all the limbs of your body covered with dust and your arms severed, you will lie sleeping on the ground. When I deliver you to your final sleep, this Dandak forest will become a shelter for those sages who are the shelter of others. When your residence in Janastan has been destroyed by my arrows, sages will wander throughout this area without fear. Today, all those who previously instilled fear in others will flee out of fear. O cruel and petty-minded Rakshasa, you have been a constant thorn in the side of the Brahmanas. Because of you, the sages have been offering oblations of clarified butter into sacred fires with much anxiety. Khara was moved by those words to further action. He looked for some more weapons. He saw a nearby sala tree not far away. He uprooted the tree. He twirled it around in his hands, roared loudly, and hurled the tree at Ram, shouting, "You are dead!" Ram splintered and knocked down the tree with a shower of arrows. Then he summoned all his intense anger for slaying Khara in combat. Ram pierced Khara with 1,000 arrows. Agitated by the wounds from Ram's arrows and maddened by the smell of his own blood, Khara dashed wildly towards Ram. Ram, who was expert in foot movements, took 2 or 3 steps backwards. in order to fire at the approaching furious Rakshasa dripping with blood. And then there's this whole commentary about why did he step back? Because that may look cowardly. So there's 5 different explanations of why he stepped back. To get a good angle at Khara was one of the main reasons. Ram grabbed an arrow which burned like fire and resembled Lord Brahma's rod of chastisement, placed it on his bow, given by the Lord of the demigods Indra, and drew it back on a bowstring, being fired towards Khara. That arrow struck him in the chest, making a sound like a thunderclap. Being burned by Ram's arrow, Khara fell to the ground, stricken down, dead. Ahankara is finished. Watching from the sky, the Siddhas and Charanas, overjoyed, played kettle drums, showered flowers. In just 72 minutes, Ram has killed 14,000 Rakshasas who could change their appearance at will, including the notorious Khara and Dushan. Oh, what a tremendous feat done by Ram. Oh, what valor and determination he has, just like Lord Vishnu. And then the sages, headed by Agastya, including Agastya, spoke. For this very purpose, the glorious Indra visited the sage of Sharabanga. You familiar with that? Indra was visiting the sage Sharabanga. You're looking at YouTube, boys. No. When Ram entered the Dandak forest, we heard. Did you hear the class on Saturday evening about Virada? Yeah. So after killing Virada said, "Go visit the hermitage of the sage Sharabanga. He'll help you find out a good place to go." So when he went to the hermitage of Sharabanga, there's 3: Sita, Lakshman, and Ram. And as they were approaching, they saw this very puzzling thing, this chariot, brilliant, effulgent, celestial chariot, hovering above the ground, and a celestial person standing there next to the chariot having a conversation with a sage. Ram said, "This may be a Rakshasa trick. You stay here with Sita, I'm going to go forward and find out what this is." So as he went forward, the personality that was by the chariot saw Ram coming, and he quickly disappeared. The chariot went away, and Ram wanted to know, when he met Sharabanga, who was that? He said, "Oh, that was Indra. And he was giving me an invitation to come to heaven. But I said, no thanks, I want to wait for Ram. And then you came. Because rather than go to heaven, I'd rather go to be with you. And have your association, even a moment's association with you, is better than going to heaven." So now here Agastya is making reference to that. The glorious Lord Indra visited the hermitage of the sage Sharabanga. You were brought to this region by the great sages to annihilate their enemies, the Rakshasas of sinful deeds. This deed has now been accomplished by you, O King, O son of King Dasarath. The great sages can now strictly practice their religious duties in the Dandak forest. So the battle's over, the eulogies are done. Lakshman is watching the whole situation. He now sees Ram is victorious, so with Sita behind him, he descends from the mountain cave. after the victorious Ram had been duly honored by the great sages and offered proper respects by Lakshmana, Ram went back to the Panchavati cottage. Seeing her husband, Sita, who had slain the enemies and brought happiness to the great sages, Sita felt great joy and embraced him. Seeing that Ram was unharmed, she saw the strewn bodies of 14,000 soldiers. She spoke. Her face beaming with ecstasy, Sita again embraced Ram, who was being praised by great sages, pleased by his having slain hordes of Rakshasas. In that phrase by Valmiki is the word Rishta. Rishta means she was experiencing transcendental great joy. Now I'm looking for her words. There's some very interesting commentary, but I want to find her words. Well, I can't find. So let's go back to our theme, and we'll conclude. We heard a number of things about what Dushan represents. Primarily, it's blasphemy, mahamoha, arrogance, or darpam, because he was powerful, and persons who are powerful and filled with pride, they criticize others, they blaspheme others, and they hold themselves in a very special position. Trishiras, in addition to speaking of Trishiras representing the threefold miseries, it's also spoken or written, represents self-conceit, or mada, thinking too much about oneself. And that strengthens the threefold miseries. The threefold miseries crush such a person. And there's not too much to say about Khara, it's just straight old false ego. And that false ego is the most difficult to remove. False ego gives strength to all other bad qualities. And by eliminating these three demons, Ram was not making it possible for the sages to reside peacefully in the forest. And it's instructive because the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas are saying the whole of Ramayana is lessons in Sharanagati. Ram will help us overcome these, they're not just frailties, they're obstacles, very strong obstacles on the path of taking shelter of the personality of Godhead. And again, as we mentioned, even without understanding all of this commentary, there's potencies in narration of Ram that say, virtuous people, they love hearing and hearing again and hearing again and hearing again, Ramayana. Like we might hear again and again Krishna's pastimes. I know a group of very elderly devotees, they're God brothers, And so they're in they're senior citizens, whatever their age is, in their 60s and early 70s. And on a daily basis, for half an hour, they read Krishna book together. Not like they want to learn what the pastime is, and they enjoy, but there's potencies within the narration that removes obstacles in the path of attaining Braja Bhakti. So their consciousness is not just like, that's a nice idea, but they want to receive that on a conscious level. So there's some details being presented here of the pastime, and some details that are brought out through commentary. But just the pastime itself is very wonderful. Let's see if there's some discussion. Anyone in the room or any of our people online have some points you'd like to bring up?
Sri Kishore Prabhu has 3 questions. First question is, how do we understand the long lifespans of people from previous ages? Is it literal?
Yes.
Are those years same as how we measure a year now?
Yes.
I ask this because I heard that kings like Rama and Dushara ruled for thousands of years.
Yes.
But as far as Rama's exile is concerned, it's 14 years, which must have been very small.
Yeah. That was the morning question.
Next question from...
There's solar years. In that little video we showed at the beginning, the movement of the sun in the course of 1 year is moving on the wheel of time, Kala Chakra, the wheel of time, and in 1 year's time the sun makes one complete revolution. So it doesn't change through the yugas. The sun's revolution is still 1 year, is still 1 year. And that 1 year is the duration of time it takes for the sun to pass through the 12 zodiac constellations. That doesn't change with yugas. It's just the yuga duration is of more solar years or less solar years. Go ahead.
Next question is a small clarification. Did Rama has armor when he was in exile?
When he was where?
When he was exiled, how did he have armor?
He carried armor, or Lakshman had, I don't know. Lakshman was there to assist him, and there were many things that he had. He had shovels, and he had axes, and he had armor, and didn't have a wagon. He just carried it all somehow. I don't know.
Third question from Sri Kishore Prabhu. I heard many times that Ravana conquered even the heavenly planets.
Yeah.
Did he never bother to conquer Ayodhya, which was being ruled by Dasharatha?
Yes. There's a story that says no, I'm getting that mixed up with someone else. No, he didn't attempt to conquer Dasharatha. I can't remember. There's some detail and I can't remember. Does anybody here remember why he didn't go?
Maharaj, I don't remember the name of that king, but I think before Dasharatha, he did go. So I don't remember the name of that king, Guru Maharaj, but I remember
The
hearing...
king before Dasarath?
Yeah, I remember from you, hearing from you, Ravana did go there and he fought with him, and he actually cursed Ravana that our descendants in our line is going to kill you.
Yeah, there's some detail. I think you're right, but I can't remember the detail.
Rajeshwari Pran Mataji's question. Trishira represents threefold miseries of material world and Ram helps to uproot the miseries.
Yes.
Guru Maharaj, can you please explain how do I understand that Lord Ram uproots the threefold miseries in relation to current global crisis?
Current global crisis. Well, it's not just the current global crisis, but the threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, and Bodhika. It's right in Bhagavad Gita, aside from current global crisis. And living entities who are conditioned, their disturbances that are caused by those three that everyone, conditioned souls, experience. So on the path of Shuddha Bhakti, it's not like, let's say it's not like you don't get old, you don't get diseased, or you don't die. And that's because those are adibhaudika miseries. They're still there, but one is able in consciousness to transcend the temporary disturbances. So that's my answer. Same as the message from the Bhagavatam, tapatrayon mulanam. By transcendental consciousness, one goes beyond the cycle of birth and death. That's how. As long as we have bodies, there's going to have adibhautika miseries and adibhautika influences. Go ahead.
And she also mentioned the name of the king who cursed Ravana. That is Aranranya. That's the name of the king who cursed Ravana to not enter Ayodhya.
Okay.
Then next question is from Sanchari Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you for today's class. On the topic of stubbornness, sometimes you can hear the same thing said by two devotees who you have a relationship with, but you're affected more deeply by the instruction or statement from one than the other. On one hand, we are taught to be discerning in who we hear from in our spiritual journey, but often what I see is that this discerning ability transforms into a judging mentality, often unintentionally, because we feel we know their spiritual journey and can therefore have an opinion on what they're saying. I don't believe that discerning is a negative thing, but how do we come to the stage of discerning with a judgment-free heart and open mind so we can focus on the instruction regardless of who said it?
You have to be a Paramahamsa to come to that stage. And how do you become a Paramahamsa is her question. You by progress in bhakti, you become elevated in consciousness up to that stage. The Paramahamsa is able to take gold from a filthy place. So a starting point is two starting points: humility and seeing the spirit soul. Someone wrote to me recently. They were really appreciating the Gita Values series, and the first one in the Gita Values series is Samadarshana. And they were sharing how they struggle with that, in this way, that way, the other way. And from hearing that Samadarshana message and understanding it's important to apply it, they started to try to apply it. They found from within where that resistance was coming, when they weren't able to. So this isn't a more detailed slow motion answer to the question. When there's obstacle in the heart, then we hear, but we can't live it. But if one tries to apply it, that which we hear, then it helps us overcome the obstacle. So being discriminating is that's intelligence function. We're not advised to switch our intelligence to the off position to become a spiritual person. We're discriminating using intelligence, and we apply with intelligence that which we've understood, and the heart becomes progressively unobstructed. And then we can hear the same instruction or other good instruction from wherever it's coming. So become a Paramahansa by gradual progress.
This is Rohini Nandan Prabhu. His question from the video we saw today, my understanding that each universe has that pattern. So does that mean there are multiple Vaikuntha planetary systems and Goloka Vrindavan planets in each universe?
No, that's just describing the universe. And there's multiple universes, as the picture showed. And there's one spiritual sky with the Vaikuntha planets, and there's one Goloka Vrindavan for all the universes, not multiple Vaikunthas and multiple Golokas.
This is Govinda Mohini Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, you mentioned that Dushan represents one who is contaminated, representing bad qualities.
Yes.
When we recognize those bad qualities, you said to cut them out. Can you give some practical steps on how to overcome these bad qualities?
Practice. First comes recognition what the bad quality is. An easy one to pick is anger. So somebody recognizes I have this tendency to become angry. So what do you do when you recognize that you have a tendency to become angry? Well, everything's going along fine until something triggers that anger, and then here comes that anger tendency. So now, knowing that you have such a bad trait, and here it comes, what do you do? In the explanation given by commentary, you cut off the arms. Don't let that anger get a hold of you. And if instead of having the anger get a hold of you, where does anger come from? What's the place that it's coming from? It's frustration. And frustration is due to unfulfilled passion or desire. So how do I deal with desire that's unfulfilled? Because that's created the anger. Align your desire with the desire of Krishna. So it takes some philosophical adjustment. It takes some heart level adjustment. It takes some, let me take shelter of the means that's going to purify me from desires that are apart from Krishna. So, it's not going to happen quickly. It's a cultivation of a higher mode of nature, tolerating or restraining oneself from acting on impulse, born of our conditioning, and directing attention instead to how to be of service to Krishna, given whatever the circumstances that's triggering my anger. How to be of service to Krishna in this circumstance. That's a spiritual potency. Take shelter of spiritual potency. That'll give you the strength to not fall prey to the conditioned anger tendency. It doesn't happen instantly. It happens by cultivation, purification, and alignment of pleasing Krishna with our thoughts and actions. Practice. Instead of going there, you go here. Instead of going there, you go here and practice, and you end up going here instead of there. Is that it?
Amara Mataji's question. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, how does understanding about different planetary systems help in bhakti?
Well, it can be a distraction which doesn't help bhakti if it's just gathering information and more information and more information and more information. We're already in information age. So it's not, the purpose is not information. The purpose is to see that place in which we live in relation to the personality of Godhead. The universal form is the universe, the form of Krishna, and seeing the form of Krishna from various angles and perspectives, including its structure, is centered on Krishna. And all of the parts are centered on Krishna, just like chapter 15 Bhagavad Gita. The Urdhva Mula, the tree that's inverted. And what's the root? What's that which is the source of this universe that we can see the depiction of? And that's Krishna. And so the leaves and branches and the parts of the tree are emanating from its source, the root. So according to what Shukadeva Goswami says, is seeing behind the universe is there's a supreme person. It helps us get to the point where we can fix our mind upon the personal form of Krishna by seeing the form of the universe in relation to Krishna. That's it. Anything here? No? Okay, I have a question for you too. Out of all that you heard this evening or saw, what's something that stands out in your mind that you think you'll be remembering from today?
Like when Rama kills the when Rama kills the 14,000 soldiers of Khara and Dushara
And Trishiras. So like the battle scene? Okay. Okay.
I was gonna say that too, the battle.
Yeah. Boys like battle scenes. I learned that. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.